too late, I'm live. I got deadlines I need to keep. Ah! I'm gonna wait till I see more people. All I see is Brayden. Oh my god, Brian did it. I mean, I already started the stream. I already psyched myself up to do it alone. I can't break up the screen now to join a VC. Brian wants those sub benefits. Okay. I see you, Brian. Control Alt Delete. You get the 2 coach points and the A potential. I know you have. I think you only submitted 1 guy this year, right? Nah, I'm gonna go it alone. I'll give. I got 9 people in here. What's the viewer list looking like? Literally only says Corey. I love how I pull up the viewer list, it just doesn't list anybody. Kyle Jensen really chose the transfer away instead of the cracked recruiting class, and it worked out. Alright, I am ready to begin. Everyone in chat, let me know if you are ready to begin. Loyola Chicago got a 4 seed last year. I think they had the same exact record too, so we shall see. Ah, hype! Alright, we're just gonna get right into it. We're gonna start with our top seeds. The bracket's gonna be organized. The Midwest region and the East region will meet, and the Final Four in the South and the West will meet for the national semifinal. And our first overall seed is the Kansas Jayhawks, to the surprise of probably nobody. Especially since Arkansas didn't win the SEC, so there really wasn't much of a competition for it at that point. I wonder how many people will pick Kansas to go all the way. Where's Sione? Our second overall seed, the Arkansas Razorbacks in the South region. Conference tournaments were kind of weird, so there wasn't a ton of movement in the top seeds. Like, they lost in the semifinals of the SEC tournament, but that wasn't enough to knock them down off the one line. And they did win 30 games, so it's kind of hard to justify doing that. And our third overall seed in the West region, the BYU Cougars. So despite the loss to Baylor in the Big 12 semifinals, the BYU Cougs get a #1 seed. If they make it all the way, they would be playing the winner of the South region. I don't know, Arkansas BYU sound like a fun Final Four matchup. And our fourth overall seed on the same side of the bracket as Kansas are the Wisconsin Badgers. Committee does not punish them for coming up just short in the Big Ten title game. They stay on the one line. Thoughts on our #1 seeds? There's a case for Michigan, I agree. Wisconsin for fraud. I don't know if I'd put them on fraud watch. Guess the committee just respects Wisconsin a little more. But yeah, I don't really have a problem with any of these. I mean, BYU would be more of a slam dunk if they just made the title game versus Kansas and lost, but I don't really feel strongly that any of these teams don't belong here. It's not like Duke last year where they were clearly like the clown with the soldiers meme. But yeah, we're gonna move on to our first section of the bracket, the Midwest region, headed by the 31-3 Kansas Jayhawks. And in the first round, they will play the Summit League champions, the Omaha Mavericks, who finished the season 22-9, won the regular season and tournament titles in the Summit League. Something they didn't do last year with Darren Dowd, who was a top 5 pick. So do with that what you will. I'm not sure what kind of narratives are being created because of that. Certainly an interesting vibe. They're led by Shamar Campbell and Graydon Slane. Slane's the same type of prospect Peterson is, honestly. Just like a slam dunk top 3 pick, probably. Those Summit League teams, man, they like to get up and down the court. And for our 8-9 matchup, we start with the 8-seeded Auburn Tigers. Team that started off with a lot of preseason hype. Definitely came down to earth a bit, but they had a strong showing in the SEC tournament. They get a 8 seed. Probably went up a couple lines based on that upset over Oklahoma, I would assume. I kind of agree. But maybe this game just values what they could have been in the preseason. I don't know. And coming in to face them as the 9 seed, we have the Louisville Cardinals, who went on a big run in the ACC tournament. I figured that would be enough to get them in. So Anders Rolifson will not be just held out of the tournament altogether. So he's going to get a shot. Do something this March. Not sure who I like there, honestly. I'd probably take Louisville. I mean, if Louisville's like playing good ball, I kind of like them in this matchup. I don't want to like completely write off Auburn though. Auburn's not awful. A little bit, yeah. Nothing really interesting here in the 8 and 9. Nothing here screams that they're gonna beat Kansas anyway. You didn't miss much, Heel. This is just the first section of the bracket I'm going over. I'm gonna assume Heel sees it. He's absorbed the knowledge. Our next pod, starting with the 5 seed in this region, we have the Houston Cougars. Tumultuous season for them. Once again, they end up finishing the season pretty strong. They get a 5 seed out of the Big 12, 22 and 10. I don't hate that they have a 5 seed, but I don't know if they really deserve it. If they were like a 6, maybe I could get behind it. They did finish the year pretty strong though, so I'm not gonna harp on it too much. And coming in to face them as the 12 seed, we have the CAA champs, the Campbell Fighting Camels, led by Cole Ogden. Team that was kind of left for dead late in the season. I didn't really see them doing much in the CAA tournament, but they ended up going on a run, winning that tournament, and they're in the dance. Campbell and Cole Ogden versus Symir Styles and the Houston Cougars. Ugh, what a matchup. Wonder how people see that one playing out. Then we got our 4 seed, Xavier Musketeers, the Big East champs. A little surprised they were not higher. Thought a 3 seed would have been pretty fair for them. Choosing. I think they have a decent chance to pull an upset. I do like me some Cole Ogden. But anyway, Xavier are 4, and they're going to play the defending America East champions, UMBC. They get it done against Vermont once again. They're a 13 seed for the second year in a row also. They play Xavier this year. How we feel about this pod? The UMBC is the Retrievers, not Terriers. Different kind of dog. People say upsets. Xavier, I do kind of like Xavier to get out of this pod. I'm like a drug addict when it comes to Houston. I just look at their overalls and like, they could do it. They weren't a team that many people were expecting to make the Final Four last year, and they did. Similar vibes. That's all I'm saying. Our next pod, the 6th seed out of the SEC, Mississippi State. Pretty good year for them. Don't really have a problem with this seeding. And their matchup will be a shocking bid here out of the Big Ten, the Washington Huskies? Not sure how I feel about this one. That upset versus MSU was enough to get them this. I'd probably go Mississippi State in this one, but I mean, Washington does have Alex Rua is a very good player. Maybe he throws this game into a blender. That's about all I can expect from them. The 3 seed, also from the SEC, the Florida Gators. Had a lull in the middle of the season, but they ended up closing out pretty strong. Made it to the title game in the SEC tournament. Good enough to land them a 3 seed in the tournament, and they will be playing the Conference USA champs, Sam Houston Bearcats, come in as a 14 seed. How are we feeling about this pod? I'd probably go with them too. Interesting things could happen though. But I'd be pretty shocked if Florida doesn't come out of this one. And our last pod for the Midwest. Start out with our 7 seed. That would be the Yukon Huskies. Our second bid out of the Big East. A little bit of a disappointing year for them. They were, I think, the unanimous pick in the Big East in the preseason, but they were not even close to catching Xavier at the end of the season. And facing them as the 10 seed, we have the Purdue Boilermakers. I like this matchup. This one could go either way. Teams have both had a little bit of identity crisis during the season. They have talent, but they haven't really coalesced as a team quite yet for both sides. And then our 2 seed in this region, we have the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Tournament champions in the Pac-12. Back-to-back tournament champions in the Pac-12. And they will face the Bradley Braves, who were the champions in the Missouri Valley. What do we think here? Let's go Braves. Yeah, I do want to see KU Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. That's what I hope happens. Moving on, we have our South region, headed by the Arkansas Razorbacks, who finished the season 30-3. Their first round opponent will be the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, who were champions in the SWAC. Good year for them. Didn't have to face Southern in the conference title game, which I'm sure they appreciated. But yeah, SWAC representative gets a 16 seed again. Honestly, they probably had a claim to be something higher than that. But some of these lower seeds are kind of whack. Spoiler alert. Anyways, our 8 seed here in this tournament, also from the SEC, Texas A&M. Aggies had a pretty strong year. They were strong in the middle of the season. They kind of fell down to earth a little bit. They stabilized a bit. Definitely a tournament team. I think they deserve this. And at the 9 seed, we have the Duke Blue Devils. I continue to find it very funny how little the game respected Duke this year. I don't know. I'm kind of bullish on Duke, at least in the first round. I don't know if they have much of a hope against Arkansas. But that's our first pod. that 8-9 matchup will be interesting. Not sure if either of those teams can touch the Razorbacks, though. Our next pod. Number 5 seed, Michigan State. Out of the Big Ten. Lost in the first round of the Big Ten tournament to Washington. But they're still going to retain a 5 seed here, so probably costed themselves at least a 4 seed for sure. Don't want to go one and done like that in the tournament. And at 12, we've got some Spartan on Spartan violence incoming. Norfolk State will play them round 1. The MEAC champions. Which Spartans will be superior? We'll find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. I know he'll like that one. I don't know if I see an upset here. I feel like Michigan State's probably a bit too talented to lose a game like this, but hey, I don't know. They shouldn't have lost to Washington. So our 4 seed, SEC champions, somehow don't get moved up to the 3 line. Don't know if I agree with this, but it's Vanderbilt. Kind of think Michigan State's looking at this like, bruh. And they will play the Big Sky champs, Southern Utah Thunderbirds, a 7 seed in the Big Sky that ended up going all the way to win that tournament. And they are going to face Vanderbilt. I feel like this is... Vanderbilt comes out of this, no? It's a... Surely Vandy comes out of there. They were the 7 seed in the Big Sky. That's why I say some of these seedings are kind of whack. Bethune-Cookman should have moved up to the 15 line. Then we got our next pod, starting with the 6 seed, the West Virginia Mountaineers. Here's where they ended up. Continue to think this team gets a little too much credit for what they are. But I mean, this stuff gets sorted out in the tournament either way, so. They will face off against the back-to-back Mountain West champions, the UNLV Rebels. They were more of an upset story last year. They're definitely a bit more real this year. 11 seed, much better record than last year. I could see a fair amount of people taking UNLV. I don't really disagree with that either. Are the Rebels back to being a staple in college basketball? Things to consider. Our 3 seed, Arizona, out of the Big 12. Team that's really just been kind of laying low. Don't really see a lot of discussion about them. Maybe that's to their benefit. Maybe they can just surprise people and just. I mean, because no one was really discussing UCLA as like a team that could go the distance, and then they did. I don't know. Arizona kind of gives me similar vibes. And they will play the winners of the MAC, who came out of nowhere with a sub 500 record, the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers. I'm still a little peeved Quinnipiac did not win that conference tournament. Mount St. Mary's has the opportunity. That would be hilarious. So I don't think Arizona has any business losing that game. And our last pod in the South region, we start with our 7 seed, the San Francisco Dons. So this is proof the West Coast is getting at least 2 teams, probably only 2 teams, to be real. San Fran gets a 7 seed at 29-4. And they will face off against 10-seeded Cornell. Oh, this is a nasty matchup in the first round. Man, one of these teams is going to go out in the first round. That's tough. What do we feel about that? I think I like San Fran in that. But Cornell they won so many games. You can't write them off. All right, then we got our 2 seed in this region. That will be the Syracuse Orange, who kind of ran roughshod over the ACC this year. And no one really talked about it all that much. Felt like people were just like, yeah, okay, but I don't really care. 29-4, definitely a team I'd be on the watch for them. I feel like Syracuse could go crazy in this tournament, honestly. And they're gonna face off against the Patriot League champs, the Bucknell Bison. I don't know is North Dakota State the only one that says it like that, or do the other teams say Bison too? Two orange teams, and then we got 2 of the best mid majors in the nation this year. Honestly, Syracuse coming out of this region would not surprise me at all. I don't know. I'm a Kenny Ward guy. That dude's a hooper. Hughes versus Cornell. Yeah, that would be. What was the question about? I was asking, do the other schools named Bison besides NDSU pronounce it that way, or do they say Bison? All right, moving on. Halfway through this bracket. Now we're on to the West region, which is headed by the BYU Cougars. We're semifinalists in the Big 12. Did enough this year to earn a 1 seed. And they will be facing the UAC champs, the Tarleton State Texans, in round 1. Hey, finally a 16 seed that seems to make sense, huh? Yeah, probably. Tarleton. 8 seed, we have the Tennessee Volunteers out of the SEC. Kind of surprised they got put this high, honestly. I didn't hear much of anything about Tennessee this year. They just quietly had a okay year. They got an 8 seed for it. Must be nice. And they will face off against the 9-seeded Dayton Flyers. The A10 losing respect? Loyola had the aura. Dayton don't got that aura. What? Dayton a 30-win team. Honestly, that's high. That's like high-key disrespectful. If I'm Dayton, I'm playing with a chip on my shoulder for this. I think San Fran's underseeded. I thought they were fine as a 7, but I don't agree with Dayton as a 9 at all. Next pod, we've got the 5 seed, the Indiana Hoosiers out of the Big Ten. Started off incredibly dominant, kind of cooled off near the end there. Got upset in the first round of the Big Ten tournament by Nebraska. So definitely a team not playing their best ball going into the tournament. Interesting to see what they do, as they're going to match up with the Morehead State Eagles in the first round. They won their 2nd consecutive OVC conference title this year. Same record as well, 25-6. And they get a 12 seed this year. And in the 4 seed, we have the Virginia Cavaliers, also 25-6. Funny. Definitely got punished for that loss to Cal. They were honestly probably on the 2 line, if we're being real. Going out like that in the ACC tournament. Committee did not respect that loss. And they're going to match up against the Big West champs, Cal Baptist, who were the 6th seed in the Big West, but their record was still pretty good, so honestly, like, low-key, the Big West was kind of deep this year. CBU gets a 13 seed. I'm in favor of that. I don't got a problem with that seeding. Yeah, Utah Valley was butt this year. They lost their guy. Kentucky poached him, and then they didn't. And then they're probably not even making the tournament. They were so bad in SEC play. Next pod. Got our 6th seed, the Cincinnati Bearcats, out of the Big 12, getting a 6th seed. They flirted with the top 25 a couple times. I think they actually ended in the top 25 in the regular season concluded. There's definitely a Big 12 respect bid. Patrick Payton, I guess he was the league, the nation's leader in assists. Maybe that's why. And they're gonna match up with the McNeese Cowboys, who captured their 2nd straight Southland title. A lot less dominant than they were last year, but they still got it done. Can they win another tournament game? Them boys from Louisiana. People liking McNeese. Don't believe in Cincy. Alright, our 3 seed. That's going to be the Oklahoma Sooners. Definitely cost themselves a 2 seed. Losing to Auburn. Don't know if I would have dropped them out of the 2 line, though, if I was on the committee. And they are going to match up against the Eastern Michigan Eagles out of the MAC. They get a 14 seed. How we feel about this group? Eastern Michigan by 4 billion. A little bit. I noticed that it punishes some teams more than others. Yeah, that's the reason why I hesitate on McNeese. They just don't have that elite big anymore. That makes a difference. What makes me hesitate. They got Tommy Spicer, and that's about it for like game changers, honestly. All right, moving on to our last pod for this region. Our 7 seed out of the Big Ten, we got the Maryland Terps. Hey, they didn't start off hot and then flame out completely like last year. They actually made the tournament. And they're gonna match up with the Utah Utes out of the Big 12. Kind of a gaudy record, but I guess Utah did enough to get a bid. They respect the Big 12's strength of schedule. That's going to be... Honestly, I'm not really sure who I'd take in that game. Probably Maryland, but I could easily imagine Utah winning that game. Then our 2 seed in this region, Michigan. Big Ten champion Wolverines slide in here as the 2. And they are going to go up against the Mercer Bears, the SoCon champs. Could this be an interesting one? I'm not really... I just don't know if... I don't really think Michigan's in that headspace where they lose a game to a team that's not on their level, talent-wise. But that's just me. Maybe Mercer's just like that, and I'm just sleeping. What do we think about this group in the region at large? Michigan versus BYU would be kind of special for an Elite 8 game. That's must-see TV. Panda's been riding with Michigan. I kind of respect it. Alright, we got one more region to get through. This is the East region, headed up by the Wisconsin Badgers. Our last 1 seed, and they are going to face the Georgia State Panthers in round 1. Georgia State, the winners of the Sun Belt this year, 4 seed in their conference tournament, ended up getting it done. Best team in for real. Well, I mean, Mercer is also in Georgia. I don't know. Is Georgia State better than Mercer? Mercer's in Macon. Things to consider. Then number 8, 8-seeded North Carolina. The Tar Heels, y'all. Were they an 8 seed? They were an 8 or a 9. I know they were in that 8-9 game against Mississippi State. They beat them. Roy Williams found dead in a ditch. Hey, North Carolina this year actually won 20 games, so... What's Neil gonna say about that? And the 9 seed that will face the Tar Heels are the Oregon State Beavers out of the Pac-12. So they did enough. I like this first round matchup, I do. Not even really sure who I'd take. People like Oregon State. People feeling the Beavers. Yeah, I don't know why I get vibes that like Oregon State's just gonna like beat UNC and then upset Wisconsin. I don't know. I just like that team. Got a lot going for them. Next pod. St. Mary's. They are a 5 seed in this region. 30-win team out of the West Coast. Led by one of the best head coaches in the nation in Elijah Higgins. They just don't respect these mid-majors enough to put them in the elite company. Then we got their opponent, the Winthrop Eagles, who won the Big South this year. Interesting matchup. I think Winthrop gives them a game. I just don't think Coach Higgins will allow them to lose a game like this. For being real. And then our 4 seed, San Diego State. They got punished quite a bit for that loss to Colorado State. Group of death right now. And they're going to match up with Jacksonville, champions in the A-Sun. Oh, we got an ad. Uh-oh. I'll let that play. I got another person to sub up. Yeah, Heel needs to sub up. Unfortunately, the gifted ones I went to didn't go to him. Geico. What's everyone's picks to get out of this one? We like the Gales or the Aztecs. That'd be such a fire matchup in the second round. Riding with the Aztecs, huh? I just don't want any upsets to happen here. I need San Diego State and St. Mary's. I need that one for the culture. Next pod. Got one more after this. Got the Oregon Ducks as a 6th seed out of the Big Ten. I want to hear Nick's thoughts on this. Damn, he's got no thoughts. They getting belt. Oh, I know you're gonna love this, Nick. Look who they're gonna play. The Memphis Tigers. Holokai Leilani versus I would honestly, I do like Memphis in this game. I don't know if Oregon's got the I don't know if Oregon's ready for that smoke, honestly. I mean, it's also not just Leilani. Like, they've got guys on that team. Doing bad. Yo, that's crazy. Our 3 seed out of the Big Ten as well. We got the Illinois Fighting Illini. I probably would have had them as a 2 still. Gonna be honest with you. This team was electric down the stretch. In the Big Ten, they had a crazy winning streak. I know. Something like probably like 15, 16 games or something like that. But they are going to face off against the 14-seeded Northern Kentucky Norse. Kyle Jensen, his squad of mercenaries. They made the tournament. They're probably going to get waxed because I think Illinois is really good, but you know what? They made it here. They weren't supposed to make it here. Illinois probably winning it. I would think that too. This is a fun group, honestly. And our last pod of the selection show. Our 7 seed, the UCLA Bruins. The defending national champions. They were a 4 seed last year when they won it all. They're a 7 this year. Kind of dealt with injuries for a majority of this season. Still got a good record. Definitely a team I'd still watch out for. They're still really good. And they're going to face off against a conference foe in the first round in the Ohio State Buckeyes, who come in as a 10 seed. Ohio State, if y'all remember, they made the Elite 8 last year. I think they were a 10 seed last year as well. Oh man, y'all think the defending champ's gonna go out sad like that? And then our final 2 seed, the Baylor Bears. There they are. So they move up to the 2 line for their performance in the Big 12 tournament. Not really against that. I think I'm not gonna throw a fit over it. Maybe move them down with Illinois. Bruins alum LiAngelo Ball in attendance. And Baylor's matchup in the first round will be the NEC champs, the Central Connecticut Blue Devils. What do we think of this region? Yeah, Baylor's sneaky. If that team is playing well, they can go toe to toe with almost anybody. UCLA getting this, yeah, I don't know. After seeing what UCLA did last year, I still believe they have the team that could make a run. But yeah, that is our bracket breakdown. Here's the bids by conference. Definitely got a little bit more diversity this year. West Coast got 2. Big East went up from 1. They have 2 now. We're making progress, people. Pac-12 added another 1. They had Gonzaga, San Diego State last year. They added Oregon State to the fold this year. ACC only 5 teams. Florida State did it. Yeah, they did not make it. Honestly, that's kind of tragic considering Washington got in over them. I think everyone else in the Big Ten deserved to get in, but Washington just kind of whack. I ain't gonna lie. Especially when Florida State was right there. They had a really good year. Won like 23 games. Got left out over a team that won 17. But that is gonna be it for our selection show. Stream was 52 minutes. That's pretty good. I will be putting out the bracket challenge shortly. Then I'm gonna get to simming these tournament games and getting these slides made for the tournament stream. Thank you all for showing up. Next stream will probably be tomorrow. I'll go over all the teams in the tournament, let you guys do some scouting for your bracket picks. Probably be in the afternoon sometime tomorrow. But yeah, that's all for me. Thanks everyone for showing up, and I'll see you in the next one.